Hi, my name is Edward Carvery. Right now I'm 70 years old. I was born here. We are in Africville. This is where I was born. I was born here in 1946. Early in the early 60s, they blazed our community. Our community was a black community. It consisted of, we had our own church. We had a post office. We had 3 or 4 small stores. We had an open door policy where everybody was family. Our church, this place where we're sitting right now, it was the spiritual center of the Maritime. People came from all over just to attend our church services. We had a remarkable community. We were so resilient. It was such a place where you will come and feel family. In our community, we had the ocean for our playground. That's where we learned to swim. That's where we caught our fish to feed us. And it was a part of our lifestyle, the ocean. On the other side was the tracks. They put the tracks, the TNR put the railroad tracks right in down the center of our community, and it split our community in two. As a result, we lost lives because of the CNR. A lot of people got sick because back in the day they had steam locomotives which burned coal, fossil fuel, and we had to breathe that stuff when the trains used to run through twice and 3 times every day. In our community, they turned to, the city turned against Africville in the early 1900s when they destroyed half of the city to get rid of the black population. 1917, there was an explosion in Halifax. It was called the Halifax explosion. And they said it was an accident, but it's been proven that it wasn't an accident. It was on purpose. It was an act of terrorism. And the reason why they done it was, simple fact was that in the north end of Halifax, back before the Halifax explosion, from Yonge Street right out to Sears, it was all Africville. The majority of the people in Halifax were black, and the government of that day did not like it. As a matter of fact, they were Nazis. In Toronto, they were marching the streets in Nazi uniforms. So our society was geared towards Nazism. And they arranged this accident in the Halifax Harbor, December 17th, to blow away a whole black population of people that lived in the north end of Halifax. That explosion that should never have occurred, it did occur. It was proven that it wasn't an accident. That boat steered directly for the other boat. When the other boat changed course to get away from this ammunition boat, the ammunition boat changed course also as it rammed into this other boat, which caused the Halifax explosion. After preceding the Halifax explosion, Africville was swept off the face of the map. Across the water from where the explosion occurred, there was a native First Nations people. They had a community there. It was called Tufts Cove. That was wiped to the ground. No one talks about that. But that's what happened when they blew up half of Halifax. It wasn't an accident. In the meantime, they became openly racist towards Africville. We had farms, Fort Needham. Now they've put a new place in up in the north end. They've put schools there. They've rearranged the face of Halifax, but they excluded black people. They pushed us out. They took our farms, and they pushed us back to the shore. Most of the black people left. They fled after 1917. But the people in Africville remained. At that time, there was a large presence of black people in Halifax. Creighton Street, Maynard Street, Geary Street, Brunswick Street, Kamwala Street. They were all black people lived on them streets. That was before the Halifax explosion. Now today, in modern Halifax, that black space has shrunken. There are no black people there. Africville has shrunken. Our space as black people has shrunken. Even though we stayed and we fought out the racism, it was very difficult. They wouldn't service our community. Our community, they wouldn't even give us running water. They wouldn't give us sewage. The majority of the houses had no insulation. We lived here in northern Canada on the shore, and we were deprived of these things while the rest of Halifax rebuilt itself and pushed us back. More further than that, what they did, they had created a system where they would neglect us in the wintertime. They would not plow our roads. And so we had to literally shovel ourselves out that winter. We drank from wells. They poisoned our water. Now at this time, the war was getting over. 1900s, they put a contagious disease hospital at the top of Africville. Beside that, they had put a slaughterhouse where they used to bring seals down from the north, and they used to surge the fat out of them, and they used to run that through our community. That was an awful, awful smell that created diseases. The contagious disease hospital, they dug a sewer system out, and we had a pond. It was called Tibby's Pond. And in that pond, we learned to swim. That's where we brought our fish, and we cleaned our fish. It was our spot, the pond. What they had done, the city, they had dug the sewer that came down from a contagious disease hospital, a hospital they built to protect the people from these people that's coming back from overseas that had these diseases. Well, they built the hospital and they put the sewer, and the sewer came right out in our pond where we learned to swim and where we cleaned our fish. It was our recreation spot. A lot of people got very sick from that. Myself, I got covered in sores, and it was horrible. That's another incident, and they did that on purpose. The toxic waste dump that they imposed on us, it started at the south end of Halifax. Halifax did not, the white people wouldn't have it in their community. And so they brought it out here to our community. And my great uncle, his name was William Carvery, Uncle Billy. And they took his land, they compensated a piece of his land, and they started a dump. And on that dump, when they started throwing things on that dump, well, everything came on that dump, everything. The hospitals, the big major hospitals that we had in Halifax, they used to throw their soiled linens, bloody clothes, body parts. It all went on the dump. SPCA, that was Special Police for Dogs, they used to kill their animals and shoot them and lay them on the dump. We were exposed to that. The police department would come down in our community every once in so often, and they would have rifles, and it would be 15, 18 of them. And they would come down, they'd march through our community, and they'd just shoot our animals. Our dogs that were tied or under our houses, they would shoot them. And it was horrible what they did to us. It was just horrible. But in the meantime, we still had to survive, and so we had to live. And we did live. And off at the toxic waste dump, well, we became the first recyclers. And we recycled everything we could from that dump. That dump became a source of income for us, but it was a death sentence, because what they put on that dump was poisonous. And right today, every one of the people of my community that were in my community when that dump was there, we are all dying of cancer, all of us, 100%. And then what they did, when they finally decided to get rid of our community, well, they came in with the bulldozers, and they came in with the lies, and they came in with the threats, and they frightened us, and they scared us, and they bullied us, and the tractors pushed over our houses. And even though we were crying and we had nowhere to run, they continued to do it as they blazed our community in the worst fashion, as they just took authority and stomped it in the ground. Nothing was illegal. Nothing was legal when they took our community. Nothing was legal. They bulldozed our church 2:30 in the morning on the weekend, Sunday morning. They bulldozed our church. We got no recognition of our post office or our lifestyle because they took that from us. They gave us a toxic waste dump. They gave us a death sentence. And it was because the color of our skin, and it was because we had a piece of property that was promised to us way back from Flemings. When Flemings came to Halifax, he came here to build a railroad. His name was Flemings. He built a railroad. But at that time, Halifax was fighting a civil war with the United States, and Canada did not have no money to build this railroad. So Halifax sent Flemings over to England, and Flemings talked to the people in England to get this railroad. And they did not have no money to help Flemings because of the war and the money against the Americans. But Flemings got his railroad built. Flemings inquired to them about slaves, and they told Flemings that they had a new deal and they were abolishing slavery, and that was a part of the war. Flemings got his railroad built. Flemings still went to Africa. Flemings said to the people, come back to Canada with me. It's a promised land. You'll have free land and this and that. And Flemings got his railroad built. There's a black people in Africville, Nova Scotia, that says they came from somewhere. Black lives count. In Halifax at that time on Yonge Street, Flemings had built a cotton gin to teach people how to pick cotton. Black people dug out the streets in Halifax. Flemings brought a crew back, and people pretend they don't know. This place called Africville is the promised land that Flemings promised the black people when he brought them up here to Canada. We are the ones that dug out the streets. My other ancestors, before Flemings, they're the ones that built Citadel Hill. They're the ones that cleared the land in the first place. That's my people. They come from Jamaica. We were called the Maroons. But Canada wasn't fair with us either. They put us over in the place called Preston's, and it was hostile and wasn't a nice place, but the natives, the First Nations people, and because of that, the Maroons survived. The people in Africville are not the Maroons. The people in Africville came after the Maroons. Flemings brought the people of Africa in to Africville from Africa. Flemings taught them how to speak English. He built a cotton gin. Flemings got his railroad built. It started here. He built it to Windsor. He went down to the States. The people never come back. That's the Underground Railroad they're talking about. It started right here in Africville, Halifax, Nova Scotia. The guy's name was Flemings. That's where we started, not where the Maroons started. The Maroons, my ancestors also, we were the first here in Halifax. We built the fort. We were the ones that fought the natives. We were the first to arrive. Later came Africville. We survived all the years, even though they were racist. They treated us poorly. They wouldn't give us employment. We survived, and we were loyal. We paid taxes. We all had found work. We weren't a bunch of criminals. In Africville, there was no welfare. That's why when they gave us a toxic waste dump, we turned around and we became the first recyclers. Everything that came onto that dump that could be sold, we sold it back to the city. We had to. They had to The trains used to run back and forth from the railroad track that my people built. And that became a few toxic waste. But we used that energy, and we got the coal from the coal trains, and we burnt the coal. And everything they threw at us, we took that negative and we turned it into a positive. But like I said, today, all these years later, all us people of Africville, we're all dying of cancer. And it's because of the things they imposed on us as the toxic waste dump that I mentioned. That's a big part of it. The contagious disease hospital, that's another part of it. CN and the trains, that's another part of it. They don't want to look at what they did. They pushed us off our rightful place. This belongs to us. They scared us, they frightened us, and they took it. Now they got a $1 billion container pier. They've got a bridge. They've got highways, all on our land, and we get nothing. Black Lives Matter. We count. We are somebody. I've been here all these years. I'm still here. I've got nowhere to live in the wintertime. My shack is cold and it's broken, and I'm broken. I'm 70. I need support. I need my people to help me get a Kent home, a trailer, so I can survive another winter, so I can continue this struggle fighting racism. That's my life's job. It's not over. In Halifax, racism is well and it's alive. And if we don't come together and unite so we can blot racism off the face of the earth, then I'm going to fail. Right now, I feel we can win, or else I wouldn't be here. This is the intention. This is God's intention. I'm a messenger, and I'm saying Black Lives Matter. We count. We have marched from Africa to Africville. The march ain't over. The fight ain't over. But we're here now. And united we'll stand. And together. There's only one way to fight racism, and that's through love. Trust, education, and we must realize one thing, no matter what color we are, we all bleed red. We're all one people. Everybody got their own God, but there's only one God. And he belongs to all of us. She belongs to all of us. God isn't he, he isn't she. God is God. We are lesser, but we are in his image. And all the blessings that to be bestowed on us, we've got to fight for them. We've got the devil. The devil's the white man. Not white people, but white society. We've got to change that. It's got to become a melting pot, whereas we're all equal. Minorities make majorities. It's time for us to realize that we are the majority. It's our turn to take responsibility and live the life that we've been denied. I've got children that's got children that's got children. We're still slaves. We're slaves in this society. We're second-class citizens. It's time to change that. It's time that we had our place in this society. We are first-class citizens. We are somebody. Where am I going with this? I'm going this far. I'm here until it's resolved. I'm here. It's not my plan. It's never been Eddie Carvey's plan. I work for God. It's God's plan that we have Africville back. The same way they blazed my community 50 years ago, put it back. Africville belongs to us black people. That container pier, that's on our land. That bridge is on our land. Them highways, that's on our land. Give us our homes, our oceanfront homes, so we can put on our lands and we can live the lifestyle that we're supposed to. First-class citizens, Black lives count. We helped create this city, this country. This land was promised to us before we got on it. We're here, and it's my intention to be here. I want to see Africville be revived. They did it illegally. They tore down our houses. They bulldozed them into the ground. They took our lives. Today, all these years later, I'm saying, do the right thing, Canada. Put our community back. It wasn't yours to steal. It wasn't yours to blaze. You ripped us off. You stole our society. You blazed our community. You did something very wrong. You can't make it right until you put it back. It's our destiny. It's our right. It is our land. Give it back. Do the right thing.